Hello, welcome to Como Live, brought to you by the Legacy Amendment. My name is Ariel and I'm one of the horticulturists here. And today's topic is all about bulbs. It's one of the crops that I grow here at Como. And we're kind of in bulb season here in the greenhouse. So today, behind the scenes, we're gonna get an up-close look at how we're growing our bulb crops. And you're gonna get to see some never before little crevices of our growing range. To start off with, let's get a look at a bulb. This is a pineapple lily euchemis, and I wanted to show you a close-up view of a bulb so that you could realize what an amazing adaptation this is. Bulbs are part of a plant where a stem and leaf have become modified to become a storage organ for the plant. And this is really incredible because it allows a plant to go into a suspended state, a dormancy, where it's not making food for itself, it's not conducting photosynthesis, it's just surviving off of all those stored food reserves right here inside of this little organ. So this is what a bulb looks like when it's dry and dormant. And what you'll notice here is there's a kind of flat spot. That's the plate where the roots sprout out. And then above that is where the leaves are going to grow up and the flowers emerge. So one of the major crops of bulbs that we grow here at Como are tulips and daffodils. And since we're in tulip and daffodil full swing right now, getting ready for our spring flower show, that's the group of bulbs I really like to focus on. But we have so many amazing ones that I'd be remiss if I didn't just show off a few of my favorites. So that little baby that I showed you was a piece of the pineapple lily. This is the mother plant where it came from, and that will really give you a better chance to see what that flat plate looks like, that modified stem and leaves. All these baby bulbs are sprouting off of that. And again, these can be potted up here and start growing on for summer flower shows very soon. We save a lot of our bulb crops from year to year, and gardeners probably do this at home with some of their bulb house plants. Prime example that people are probably thinking about right now are their holiday amaryllis. These holiday amaryllis, or hippeastrum, these are fantastic plants to save year to year, but the important thing to know about bulbs is in order for them to live off that food reserve, they need a chance during their period of growth to store up as much energy and food as possible in that bulb. So with our amaryllis, we'll grow them all summer. Those leaves are going to photosynthesize and make food for the plant, and that's going to support next year's flower display. So you want to fertilize them and take good care of them during that period of time. So if you have an amaryllis sitting on your windowsill, let it keep growing. Don't start chopping off those leaves just yet. And if you do want to save it up and grow it again next year, at a certain point it's going to go into dormancy, and if you want to time that just right for the holidays, here at Como we typically dry ours down starting in August, where we withhold water and let those leaves naturally wither up and desiccate. In the end, you'll get a pot that looks a lot like this with a bunch of dry, crispy leaves and dry bulbs still in the soil. At that point, it's safe to pull those leaves off. This is not an amaryllis. This is one of our pineapple lilies. I just saved it so that you could see how dry I like to let those leaves get before I actually remove them from our plants. So those can get pulled off and composted, and then you let that amaryllis just sit dry for about 8 weeks, and then you can resume watering these pots again. Usually we start in November then, watering them and feeding them and let those blooms come on for the holidays. All right, so enough about amaryllis. My favorite bulb of the moment is this little beauty. This is an Albuquerque, and the thing that I think is most amazing about this is not the flowers, though those are spectacular and those are very fragrant, but this has the cutest leaves ever. This is Albuquerque spiralis, or a variety named Frizzle Sizzle, for those adorable curly leaves. And those blooms are just starting. We have some fully open here and a few more buds coming on. This is native to South Africa. And we'll have these displayed in our conservatory this winter. This is kind of their prime time. We have another South African bulb in our winter show as well, called Velthemia, that's starting to bloom right now as well. So those are some of my sneak peeks at other bulbs, but again, it's all about tulips and daffodils right now because those are going into our spring show, one of the most anticipated shows here at Como. And we grow about 8,000 of them a year. They arrive in the fall, we pot them up, and then we time them using this bulb forcer's guide. And this is a great reference if you're trying to time a bloom just perfectly and have those tulips and daffodils open exactly on schedule for a spring flower show. We use this handy chart here, which allows us to find out, okay, if we want our flowers to be blooming on March 20th, then they need to come out of the cooler on this date. So we create a bulb forcing schedule using that guide. Those 8,000 bulbs are broken up into different groups so that we can be bringing a fresh group out of the cooler, staggering the bloom so that there's always something in full bloom in the spring flower show, which lasts about 5 weeks. Our tulips and daffodils don't last that long in full bloom. It's about a week to 10 days for each of the groups when they're on display. So at this point, I'd like to take you into our rooting room so you get that behind the scenes look. Sorry about the phone call there. And we'll show you what it looks like where they are awaiting their pull dates. All right, let's take a look. This is our cooler. We want to keep the lights off. We want it to be dark when we're not in there working, but in order for us to take a look and see what's going on, I'll switch the lights on for now. Come on in. Here's our reference guide. This is a schedule which helps us know exactly how many to take out and on what date. We actually pulled our first group out yesterday, and they're in the greenhouse. I'll show you those in a few minutes. It's chilly in here right now. We're keeping it right around between 32 and 35 degrees, trying to keep it cold, but not freezing cold. And you'll notice that the bulbs have started to sprout. And they're sort of suspended, waiting for it to warm up. As soon as it warms up, those leaves are going to shoot up and the flowers are going to come soon after. Some of them have little roots poking out of the bottom of the pot. It's not this cold at the beginning. When these go into the cooler in November, they're kept at about 48 degrees for a week, so those roots start to develop. And then we drop it down into the low 40s until just about January 1st. January 1st, then we get it really cold in here into the 30s. So there's a period of rooting in the fall, and then once things are well established in their pots and rooted in, we keep it pretty cold until it's time to pull them out. So about 8,000 bulbs stacked floor to ceiling. When we run out of room, we even have to stick a few on the ground below. We have a second set of coolers in here if we want to change the temperature and have one cooler slightly warmer and one cooler slightly colder. We can do that because they are a divided space. Other fun things are stored in here as well, not just tulips and daffodils. We have some hardy water lilies here packed up, awaiting their summer homes. We also have some dahlia tubers stored away in here as well. Well, that's a sneak peek at our cooler. Now for the exciting part. Group 1 tulips and daffodils moving into the greenhouse. Let's go see them in the warm light. Our greenhouses get progressively cooler as we move this direction. So those tulips and daffodils went into our Bay 2 greenhouse. And even though they just came out of the cooler yesterday, they're already starting to have those little baby shoots elongate and turn from kind of that yellowish color to a nice greenish red. We have quite a few varieties here, about 80 of each color going down the bench. This year's spring show that you can't tell at this stage is going to be lots of cheerful yellow tulips, some really beautiful deep purplish, almost black tulips, And we have some white ones as well. We're kind of thinking of it as a pollinator color scheme, like a honeybee or a bumblebee with those stripes of yellow and black with a little bit of white. So we hope you'll visit in March to see this in person, but here's your sneak peek that spring is coming, even though it doesn't feel like it on days like today. Thank you all so much for tuning into Como Live. We'll see you next time.